meeting to. I'll start over.
Sorry.
We will call the November 18th Middleton Tourism Commission meeting officially to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the October 20th meeting minutes.
And move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Second,
A second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, who was the second? Was
Kevin.
that Kevin?
Kevin, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, minutes are approved. Welcome back, Bill.
Thank you.
We have the presentation from Bill with DMO Pros.
Is that my cue?
That's your cue.
All right.
All right.
Well,
And up-
thank you again for the opportunity to work with Mari and the team, the Tourism Commission, city manager, and over 30 community and business stakeholders over the past few months. Unfortunately, I am fighting a really nasty cold, and I certainly don't want to spread my germs to any of you. So thank you for allowing me to present my findings and recommendations via Zoom. Little about our firm, and Mari, if you can go to the next slide. DMO Pros is a small boutique consultancy based, interestingly enough, right here in Dane County, and specializing in destination marketing and leadership organizations. It's all we do. It's all we've done for 30 years in business. And indeed, I've come full circle with your organization. I was not officially part of those early meetings. I was just an interested bystander, but I was actually at probably the first 3 or 4 meetings as Middleton discussed back in 1995, whether or not to create a DMO. And I think we're all excited that you did. So the organizational assessment, and as you can see, if you've got the printout in front of you or read it, it still has the draft stamp on it. So if we've missed something, if we've overstated something, understated something, this is still an active document. And I've got pen in hand, so does my partner, Terry. And we'll be taking vigorous notes. So the organizational assessment was broken into 3 primary categories. One was to advise on organizational structure. One was to assess the efficacy of the tourism office, and then to analyze the ROI of the partnership with Destination Madison. So we'll start with the organizational structure. While your structure is uncommon in America, very uncommon, only 10% of DMOs are organized as a division of government. It works for Middleton because of your city's entrepreneurial approach to almost everything. The reasons there are so few government tourism offices is that most cities and counties pretty much run procurement, policies, salaries, soup to nuts in one unmovable format. And while that makes sense for a lot of government departments, DMOs are expected to operate in an entrepreneurial environment. It's been 10 years, so I don't know if they're still doing it, but we actually worked with a DMO in Florida. It was a county department, and they had to get 7 approvals from city officers, 2 of them legal, before they could post on social media. Well, as you can imagine, that just doesn't work. And that's not the case for you. But that's what causes a lot of DMOs to say, we can't operate like this. You got to let us run. That said, one of the most respected DMOs in America is a city department. It is the Irving CVB in Texas. And it works because Irving views the job at hand, the city, much like you do. And the longtime director there maintains that they never would have realized their vision for a convention center, headquarter hotel, and a contiguous entertainment district if they had been anything but a city department. And the reason she says that is that we would always be on the outside if we were a 501c6 looking in. And in this case, I have relationships with every other city department professional that often greases the wheels for the progress that needs to happen. So the DMO sector's trade association is called Destinations International, and they administer a vigorous accreditation program to recognize the best of the best in our space. Now, just to give you a sense of how high flying this thing is. There are roughly 220 DMOs that have achieved accreditation. There are, by our estimate, 4,000 DMOs worldwide. And so even though we don't believe that Visit Middleton should pursue accreditation at this point in time, it is a lot of work. And I'm not sure the juice is worth the squeeze at this point. But we thought it'd be informative to take those 99 standards and compare your operation to what Destinations International believes is best of the best. Now, truly, many don't apply to government DMOs. You don't handle HR, you don't handle IT, you don't handle in-house legal. It's all handled by city staff, and that's great. But a review of the standards that do apply to Visit Middleton checks the box on a surprising number. You don't check the box on all of them, but I think in our minds, you check the box on more than we would have anticipated given your budget. And having access to legal, HR, IT, not to mention the benefits package for professional staff, we see no compelling reason to privatize the operation at this time. It just isn't there. So then we turn our attention to the tourism office itself. In our exhaustive work, review rather of the work coming out of Visit Middleton, we found it to be solid given the size of budget, same for the grant programs. If there was a criticism we heard from some stakeholders, it was a lack of engagement and communication coming from the tourism office. For some, it was, I didn't know a big tournament was going to be in town this weekend, or I didn't know that there was a big event or festival or convention, and I would have staffed up had I known. Others were critical of the essentially discontinuing the trolley. And others didn't believe that the grant program, that the rules were too strenuous. A lot of this is people don't have the background, and that's squarely in the camp of communication. I mean, anybody who saw the ridership of the trolley would know there's no ROI there. Most people are not conversant in state statutes on room tax utilization. So they may think it's a tourism expense, but it's not. And so I think what we have here is, left to their own devices, we've got a number of people in the community that are really kind of calling out for help. I mean, they love you guys, they just don't see enough of you. And so we really believe that there is some of the roots to this is you've got a staff of 3 and they're running on all cylinders. I don't know how they could add more communication to their plate at this point in time. So with that, and those of you who have looked over our document, I think it's page 9, I can't remember. We took 10 other DMOs that are of the same budget size as Visit Middleton from around the country. And I think 4 of them were city departments, 6 of them were 501c6s. And interestingly, we found that budgets under Visit Middleton's had staffs as large as 6. The average among the 10 was 3.8. So closing it on 4. And so with that, there's the graph. So McKinney, Texas City Department. Now, part of this comes down to the fact that those with the higher headcount handle convention and sports sales in-house. They don't have a Destination Madison to provide that service. So, and Wauwatosa is on the low end because they essentially have pledged, they have a section in the Milwaukee Visitor's Guide. They have a website that Visit Milwaukee actually helps design and manage. So they can operate with much fewer people. But we really think that one more person is where we need to go. So then we turn to Destination Madison. This was the most challenging part, as you can imagine, of our analysis because the two organizations come from two distinct philosophies and points of view. Destination Madison's focus is Dane County. Visit Middleton's focus is Middleton. The two classify how they report out on room night ROI in two completely different ways. And frankly, I could argue both sides of this debate. But when Destination Madison says they no longer expend the time and effort to call every hotel in the county for what's called room pickup, because there's two ways to count. And one way is to essentially report out on the room block that has been requested. But as we all know, room blocks oftentimes don't fill. So that's an estimate of how many people are there, but it's not accurate. And then you come down to actual room pickup. And this was a victim of COVID, and you can certainly understand, and those of you that are hoteliers in the room know what I'm speaking of, that in those early couple of years of COVID with staffing shortages, GMs and salespeople were cleaning rooms. You don't have the time to do a room pickup. And this is not endemic to Madison and Middleton. We are seeing it all over the country in our travels that increasingly DMOs are finding other ways to judge their efficacy and return on investment. So also a COVID-induced change was in corporate business travel and conventions, which the Marriott and others are dealing. And in our discussion with area sports venues, park districts, and the MASC, leads and booking in these segments are slowing. Not because MASC isn't out there working their butt off. It's because there is a serious lack of dates available to host competitions. Those available dates, because many of the sports venues have taken a resident first philosophy, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, parks are designed for residents. However, if residents take all the dates, then there's nothing left for MASC to sell. So that's also impossible to prove without a shadow of a doubt. And while we know there's always going to be suspicion that Destination Madison places downtown in an attempt to draw meetings and conventions into Dane County, can we agree that for some, Middleton is actually the most, or a more appropriate choice? Free hotel parking, slower pace, quaint downtown. For some groups, mostly those groups that come from the more rural areas of the Midwest and Wisconsin, they don't want to be downtown. And so how do we better target those groups and encourage Destination Madison to do that so that we can drive more business of the kinds of people who find Middleton highly attractive? So the new mission statement for Visit Middleton actually targets the leisure market. And as most Middleton hotels are members of Destination Madison, I think at this point we encourage them to encourage Destination Madison to step up their convention efforts in Middleton. And that brings us to how one tracks ROI and leisure. And that is unfortunately even tougher. Middleton clearly benefits from the visibility it achieves through the commentary page, or the community page rather, on the Destination Madison website, through e-newsletters, visibility on Instagram and TikTok, the annual blog post. Destination Madison reports over 365,000 social media impressions mentioning Middleton specifically. In addition, the Middleton Visitors Guide and collateral from the National Mustard Museum are featured prominently in Dane County Regional Airport information. So what's next? Those with whom we spoke to in Middleton during those stakeholder interviews favor continuing a relationship with Destination Madison, and that can't be discounted. The terms of the agreement, however, need to be fine-tuned. And the reason I say that is 17% for multiple communities, while probably easier to administrate for Destination Madison, 17% for Middleton is $260,000. 17% for Verona is $66,000 for basically the same benefit package. So we're in no position to direct Destination Madison and how they administer the community partner program. But we do make this suggestion. If 4 times as much money is being invested by Middleton as other community partners, shouldn't Middleton receive 4 times more benefit, 4 times more blog posts, 4 times more social media posts? Not to say that 365,000 Middleton-centric social media posts is inconsequential, but I think we'd be having a different conversation if Middleton was benefiting from 4 times social media and take it up to 1.4 million Middleton-centric posts. It's only fair. So in the end, we believe that Visit Middleton should either benefit from additional visibility or its investment levels should be reconsidered. In recognition of the $260,000 a year from Visit Middleton, we would hope that Destination Madison would favor the former. If they don't, we believe a renegotiation is in order to better represent the value that Destination Madison does provide to the city of Middleton and its other suburban partners. So those were the 3 major areas we were asked to analyze and opine upon. When we do our work, when we see something that maybe isn't in the scope, we feel it really is our responsibility to call it out and just share our thoughts. And so, again, when we hear criticisms regarding a DMO's engagement with the community, it's a lack of communication, and that's what it is. So we encourage Visit Middleton to schedule at least quarterly town hall meetings where professional staff can share success stories, both Visit Middleton's and Destination Madison's, and also showcase successful grant recipients so that people who are struggling with the grant guidelines will go, oh, that's how they got it, because they did this and we haven't. And more visibility at common council meetings to keep council updated on the work you also do is also recommended. As I said, for professional staffing, part of that communications thing, simply a lack of personnel. Visit Middleton should consider adding another individual to either be that community outreach individual or be somebody who could take some of the marketing load off the director so she can be out in the community doing that work. It's almost impossible for that community engagement and communication to happen with 3 people, given the workload that these 3 have taken on. We also encourage the city to take back in-house special event permitting for those events like weddings and ice cream socials that are not tourism related. This additional workload is keeping that individual on staff from working with tourism-centric events. Indeed, the services director may actually have the time to work with Middleton hotels to see if you can achieve room pickup if they weren't required to manage permitting. From a governance and orientation standpoint, I think we can all agree the current room tax law is maddeningly complex. As new members come onto the commission, they should quickly be able to access an orientation program to get them up to speed, one that is attended by all commissioners as a refresher and welcoming the new member to the team. And this can't be over lunch. This is way too complex. This needs to be an all hands on deck, probably 90 to 120 minute top to bottom orientation for why we do what we do, how we work within the room tax statutes, etc. Grant programs. I know you as a commission requested your director to weed out non-compliant grant applications before they get to you. And while we understand this serves you and limits the time that you have to actually review the grants, this inadvertently puts the tourism director in the line of fire, possibly being accused of favoritism. We think removing this bullet from the documentation can serve to remove the director from the line of fire and public criticism. Indeed, if an application truly does not meet a criteria, I think it'd be what, $5 to get a big stamp on the front and say non-compliant. And that means you don't have to spend more than a minute looking at that that document. Let's let the commission say no, and not the director. Continue to build out your guiding principles. We commend you on your recently updated mission statement, which is Visit Middleton's mission is to promote the city of Middleton as a leisure destination and support the hospitality industry and the local economy. We encourage you to go further and then develop a vision statement for the community and core values to reinforce what the tourism office stands for. And for the visitors, as we travel the country, we always hear that visitor centers are passe. And maybe that's true for the ones that are out on the highway. The ones who are downtown in a high traffic community are resurgent and really, in many cases, doing well. And that your visitor center doubles as the tourism office. Maintaining the facility is a worthy initiative. Better signage, Saturday hours would certainly help to get the numbers up, but we applaud Visit Middleton staff for already opening up the visitor center to community events like gallery night, spooky stroll, and story walk. And concluding, we believe the addition of a highly focused community marketing engagement professional and a redelineation of staff tasks to free the tourism director up to build community support is critical. We think that the typical disadvantages of operating a city department do not outweigh the advantages that you enjoy at this time. While it's certainly not the norm, the city of Middleton has allowed its DMO the ability to operate entrepreneurially and has adhered to state statutes in investing 70% of the room tax into the operation. And we believe that a relationship with Destination Madison continues to provide value to the city of Middleton, providing that a more equitable agreement can be made between the city of Middleton and Destination Madison regarding the present 17% investment agreement. Creating a tiered system for all of Destination Madison's community suburban partners or an increase of Middleton benefits equal to the amount that the city pays are options that should be considered and must be achieved. We don't believe that the 17% flat investment level is equitable for all destination partners. Maybe because there are dollars involved in the similarity of benefits. So 25 minutes. There we are. That's my 30,000 foot view. And I would be more than happy to take any questions, comments, or suggestions.
Do any of the commissioners have questions about the report? And just so you know, it is still, some of you were a little later coming on. It is still in draft form. So if you have questions you would like to ask Bill directly, he's willing to jump on a call with you or a Zoom call. If you have questions you would like to funnel through me to ask Bill, we can do that as well.
And Marty, I'm more than happy to come down too, just not this week.
But the document's not done until we say it's done. And, oh, John?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. You know, I'm with the city council and I hear lots of reports, and this was one of the clearest, most succinct, straight to the point reports I've heard in a long time. And
thank you.
I'm not in this world, but I actually got it. So thank you very much. I look forward
to
the finished report.
Yeah.
Got it.
Any other questions for Bill? Comments about the report? Well, we really appreciate the time, Bill, that you spent, working through this whole process and obviously presenting it to us today, considering that you're under the weather as well. Much appreciated. But yeah, thank you so much, and we'll be back in touch soon.
Yeah, and like I said, it's still a draft, so go ahead and hit me up with any suggestions that you may identify that you'd like me to go deeper on something, lighten up on something, or just edit. We're happy to do that. We want this document to be something that doesn't just sit on a shelf, that actually helps guide you on next steps.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Thank
you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we look forward to being in touch.
Yep.
Great. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Right, so we're skipping ahead to grants.
Yeah. The first grant application on the list here is the Ice Age Trail. So I will recuse myself as this program will be happening at the Marriott.
Okay. And we do have representatives from Ice Age Trail here to Alliance to answer any questions. But as the agenda says, They're applying for a destination partnership grant for $5,000. The event is April 22nd through the 25th. It's going to be held at the Madison Marriott West, but they are going to be doing some off-site tours, I believe. And they wanted to rent some shuttles to take attendees throughout Middleton for, I think it was a dine around one night. And they are expecting 330 total room nights with 500 people in attendance. So again, feel free to ask questions. We have Mia here, and I think I saw someone named Amy with Ice Age Trail attached to her name who also logged on. And if you have any questions at all, I would suggest, and I think I included a suggestion before, for 330 room nights, I did explain to Mia that regularly what we do is $10 a room, and then we can cap it. And so, but it's entirely up to the commission on if they want to go beyond that. But she is aware that that's what has happened in the past. Oh, if someone is talking, I can't see. I just have a thing that says someone's talking. Feel free to turn your mute off if you have questions. Do any of the commissioners have questions? Or does anybody from Ice Age Trail Alliance, would you like to say a few words?
Hello, I took myself off of mute. Amy Lord with the Alliance. This is our annual conference and membership meeting. We are a nonprofit, so this is an opportunity for our members and our supporters to gather and just network and share their love of the trail. So it's different than a professional development conference. I'm going to be honest, it's a lot more fun, but we move this conference around, so it's not in the same location every year. But we are getting to the size that we're limited on where we can host it, because our largest part of the conference is our Saturday dinner that will be at the Marriott, and we'll probably have over 400, maybe 450 people at the dinner. But it's a great event for Ice Age Trail supporters, users, our volunteers, our members to just come together and talk about the trail, share successes, meet new people. So we're excited to be in Middleton. It's been about 10 years since we've been in Middleton, and the last time we hosted it, it was at the Kiva Sports Center. So I'm just going to say the event has come a long way since we hosted it at Kiva. So yeah, me and I are here. If you have any questions about the conference, just let us know.
And we were requesting the money for like buses or a trolley or just a way to get people from the hotel to downtown Middleton, just so people can freely go out if they want to drink, have dinner, have everything. They don't have to worry about who's going to get them home, because a lot of people are going to drive individually, so they will have their cars. But this way, people will feel free to go out to dinner whenever they want, because they will have a way to get back home to the hotel. So that's why we're requesting this money for the event.
Any other questions or comments? Does anybody want to make a motion? Here, I'll stop share. Does anybody want to make a motion on this grant?
This is John. I'll make a motion to offer $10 per room, not to exceed $5,000.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. I will send, so next steps are I will send you a letter telling you that you have received a grant, and that'll be $10 a room night up to $5,000. So if you have more than 330 people staying the night, then just report that out. And I'll explain in the letter how you do a post-event report for that. The room nights have to be in a qualified room block. So it can't just be testimonials. If someone says, oh, but I was at the Fairfield, it has to be in a qualified room block, and I'll explain how all of that works in the letter. And then if you have any other questions, Laura Ports, our convention and event services manager who's waving at you, this is what she does for a living, and she will walk you through everything and help you as well. And then we'll also follow up about if you want an information table or anything like that at your event. We offer that for free. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. We'll be sending that letter along hopefully by the end of the week.
Thank you.
And we'll be
Thank
excited to see your event
you.
here in Middleton.
Mhm.
We're excited to come to Middleton.
Come and
Excellent.
spend your money.
Yeah, we like
That
We
too.
like-
Yeah.
Oh, and Laura can also answer questions about shuttle services too. If you're working, I'm not sure, I can't remember who you're working with, but we used to work with Badger Bus a lot, but we can help with that too.
We would love some help. Well, yes, because we're still working on some of the logistics. So any recommendations you guys have or contacts, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. We can send you some numbers. Yep.
Totally.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much.
You.
All right, next up is Stonehorse Green. You can take it back.
All right. We got Stonehorse Green is requesting a destination partnership grant for $30,000 to put into use in summer 2026 towards shading in the seating area within the green space. The estimate for the whole project is $65,000, and Stonehorse Green seeks funding for half the project. The goal is to increase the functionality of the green during warmer weather, increasing event attendance. Improvements to Stonehorse Green as the central gathering place in downtown Middleton will encourage visitors to linger and return.
And we have art. Hold on. This is what and this was in your packet. This is what the picnic tables would look like. And these aren't necessarily what they're planning on buying. These are ideas for what the shading could look like. Oh, hold on a second. That's way too big for the screen. There's one. I didn't realize these were all different sizes. And we have Jolyn Rorda, who is new with the city. She's only been on for a couple of months now as the events coordinator for Stonehorse Green. Actually, I don't know what your full title is. She works with planning with Abby as well. So if you guys have any questions, they are here to answer anything you have about that. Or if any of the commissioners have questions or comments.
Well, the big stunning thing was $2,000 a piece for a picnic table. That sounds way out of whack somehow. That's like the $2,000 toilet seats for the military or something. I don't. Maybe you can explain what makes a picnic table worth $2,000.
Sure. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
I mean, actually, I don't know, Abby, if you're willing to step in, because this was a quote that Abby developed, but it was based on the quote for these particular picnic tables that were attached in the document, and the quote for the order was about $20,000.
Yeah, for 10 of them.
For 10,
Yeah.
yes. So they're commercial quality.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in on this. We don't have a whole lot of experience with picnic tables in the planning department, so we reached out to our friends on the parks crew, and we got a recommendation from them on the type of material that they would recommend. They recommended, rather than going with wood that rots and requires replacement, they recommended a composite. I think it's like a recycled plastic type of material. And they put us in touch with the manufacturer that they work with. The Parks Department right now is in the process of converting all of their picnic tables throughout the park system to be ADA compliant, because the ADA law requires a certain percentage within a park. But then when you move the picnic tables from park to park, they're constantly having to reshuffle and make sure that they're meeting that percentage. So they're going to a new standard. We kind of just want to follow along with whatever they end up going with, so that they're consistent across the city. We don't know whether this will be the exact selected design because we learned that these are quite heavy, and the Parks Department has mowers that have an attachment on the front that they can actually push the tables out of the way with the mowers. Whereas with Stonehorse Green, we use push mowers a lot of times for that small space, and we want it to be conducive for people to move the tables around with like a couple people that are gathering there, just for flexibility. So we're still finalizing the exact design of the picnic tables. We're kind of wanting to defer to the Parks Department because they have more experience.
All right. Well, at least thank you for the explanation. It's still expensive, but.
Lisa?
I think I have a question because I'm newer on the commission. Is this a tourism request, Mari?
So you mean how it works for the grants?
Yeah.
So I to clarify, I know what you're asking on whether or not this falls underneath the state statute requirement that all dollars be spent on tourism, marketing, or development. And would picnic tables or shading qualify as a tourism cost when the state statute defines it as it has to be primarily used by a visitor, not a resident. So the majority of the use would be as from a tourist. That's what the state statute says. It depends on how this commission decides they want to accept or interpret it or make allowances this way or that. I will say we have previously given Stonehorse Green $55,000 over the course of about 3 years in 2 different grants for its construction. And because in those cases we saw the location as hopefully a visitor draw, or a location where there would be hosted events that would draw tourists to downtown Middleton. So that's where that support originated. This is the first time we've ever had a grant proposal for infrastructure, I guess you could say. Because, well, wayfinding is different. That's always been part of it, like wayfinding signage, like the cross-country ski trails, because a visitor is the first person that would need it, because those of us who live here know where we're going. So I wouldn't count that necessarily as infrastructure. So we don't have precedent. All I can do is share how the statute is structured, and the commission can converse. You can
We've
ask.
assisted with lighting before, haven't we? Like holiday lighting?
No, that is completely against the grant structure.
Okay.
There was
an application.
There was a request for.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's a little different too. And that did not pass because it was not going to be, it was temporary. So we were asked to, for a grant for rentals. And if they were purchasing items to build an experience on every year, there is a possibility that that's different, because then that's development.
Yeah.
But just paying for the rentals is not. But yes, good question. That was a couple of years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, excellent question, Lisa. You read your orientation book.
John has a question.
Yep, John?
Yeah, our question or comment, primarily following up on Lisa. I've been on national commissions where there's shoulds and shalls and musts and maybes, and primarily strikes me as not an absolute. It's not a you must, but it's saying in most of the cases you must. So to me, it makes it a little foggy because I don't have an exact, precise legal definition of primarily. I interpret it as meaning that there can be exceptions if you can find other ways to sort of draw it in to that. I don't know if anybody you have any thoughts on that.
Are you, when you said primarily, you're referencing primarily used by visitors, that
That's
phrase?
right. I mean, we could argue that there are certainly people who come in to visit, and tourists are going to sit in this place also. So it's not exclusively just to residents. So I think you could argue in and out, it's not primarily used by out of town guests, but it certainly is not used by them, and it's certainly an attractive point. So, partly looking at funding, do you say, does this primarily allow you to look at a sort of a semi-external application that has some relevance but not total relevance based on a must or should kind of factor? I mean, I like the park. It's in my district, and I think it's great. And I think shade would be a phenomenal thing to do. So I'm generally in support of the proposal, but I'm not sure that I want to, before I say I'm really in support of it, I want to make sure it's something that we could legally do or not. And I don't have the answers.
No, good, excellent comment.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that kind of jumped out at me was not just the gray area there, but the amount. And that we're being asked for almost 50% of the budget. That's kind of what stood out at me.
Well, I guess I would say in my time on the commission historically, this is probably not something we would support in the 4 or 5 years I've been on the commission. It doesn't seem to fully fit our mission.
I agree with pretty much everything that people have been saying, and I would definitely say that the gray areas of the statute are the most difficult part for every commission in every municipality to try to figure out, because you also run the risk of setting a precedent where, okay, well, if we buy you picnic tables, we buy everybody picnic tables, when picnic tables are and they're not actually asking for that. This 30 grand is to go toward the shading, from how I understand it. But would you feel more comfortable if it was a lower amount, so it didn't feel like we were funding a project, but more or less offering a sponsorship toward a project? I'm throwing that out there in the sense of, we do know that visitors see Stone Horse Green and they're utilizing it. And with the hiring of Joe Lynn, I think that there's possibility that we will have maybe more developed events.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything negatively about how things have been going, but it's a baby space, and it's been growing and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And Jolynn has experience in event planning for spaces like that. And she's already been talking to me about state grants and local grants for upcoming events next year. So I anticipate that space is going to start being used in a more public way. And I mean, I'm certainly hoping it is. Would the commission feel better if it wasn't a $30,000 grant, but a smaller amount where we could say we're supporting this because we see value in it, but we aren't going to foot half the bill?
Well,
Which I agree with you. I feel like $30,000 is a high amount when it's not a development project for tourists. But I also see, sorry, go ahead.
Go
who's
ahead,
speaking?
finish it.
Oh, I was just, I also see that there is value in that space for beauty recognition. You want a downtown that looks good. Now, that is not tourism's job. It is not our job to pay for that, to landscape, to do any of that. But we could also support certain projects in a smaller way. And I think that it would be easy to defend.
Okay, can I comment, I guess? First of all, I know Jolynn, I've worked with her before, and I think she'll be great. I was intrigued in the package when talking about the possibility of bringing in outside organizations to do events down there. I can remember being at conferences in several cities where they had little parks, and it was amazing to go out and walk the city and find the little parks and actually enjoy them. And it made a big difference in how I felt about being pent up in a hotel and stuff. I could certainly look at maybe a $10,000 as a way in the door, and then say, let's see what happens, and they can always come back for more if it seems to work. But I think that there's some good ideas, and I agree with you, Mari. I think that maybe it's good to get a foot in the door, but not necessarily open the door wide yet. So.
Any other feedback on that? Kevin, Lisa, what do you feel about a smaller amount? Oh, Lisa, for some reason, I'm not hearing you.
Oh, I
Oh, there we go.
sorry. I think 10,000 seems high, especially because if we're talking about the up to 5,000 that we just gave and again, I'm new, right? So but I think if we're giving up to 5,000 for the Ice Age Alliance, and they're probably going to be, spending a lot more than that on room nights, plus bringing money into downtown Middleton, doing some shopping and things like that. I would, and Kevin saying that this is something that we probably wouldn't have done in the past. I would be more apt to, potentially say between 2,500 and 5,000.
But you're open to the idea at least.
But I'm open to the idea. Yeah, I mean, just because I think that, I personally like Stone Horse Green. I think it's a wonderful addition to downtown Middleton, and I do think that it's hard to be there on summer days when there is no shade. So I can definitely see the value of adding it to that. And I think again, downtown Middleton is a wonderful place to be. I just don't know if it's a a space to spend tourism dollars. Kevin, what do you think?
I agree with you. I'm more at I'd rather support events there, them coming with event grants, than infrastructure stuff. That's just what we've done in the past, and I think we would be setting a new precedent by supporting this. I'm all for supporting events that they have there as they happen.
I'm just furiously writing. I'm not disagreeing with anyway. I'm just trying to write all this down. So we are allowed to spend tourism dollars on development, in addition to grants. We've always interpreted development more for events, though. Kevin's right. Like when we've invested in Strolling Jazz, it was the development of a fall festival, that kind of thing. And in the past, we haven't given a lot of money to structural development other than CXC and Stone Horse Green. I think that the precedent has already been set when we gave Stone Horse Green money on the hope that it would become an event venue. I don't disagree with the 10,000, and I don't disagree with the 2,500 to 5,000. I think that when it comes to the amount, that is up to the commission on what you want to choose. I'm really trying to take Bill's advice and give you all of the feedback I possibly can. And if it were illegal, if it went against the state statute, I would just have told you that immediately, and we wouldn't be discussing it, because I certainly don't want to be audited. But I think that there's an opportunity to show support, at least at a smaller level. Yeah. But how much is up to you guys. And Lisa, just so
you want to make a motion?
It's actually a very good one, because I think everybody in this room has made that comment in the past when someone has requested a really large grant.
Yeah.
And then we say, yeah, but this convention that came into town and brought 700 room nights only got 5,000.
Right.
And so I just wanted you to know that was well received. Like seriously, for your second meeting, you're catching on quick.
Oh. I mean, well, I guess if, if Kevin is thinking now, 0 and John is thinking 10, maybe we do 5, but
I can support. I would support 5 to contribute something towards it.
Yeah, I would support that too. That's 2.5 picnic tables. Maybe you can get them to work to get 3 out of that,
I'll make you 6 for 5, John. How about that?
Thank you. I would support 5. I think we should give something, but I would support 5.
Anyone like to
okay,
make an official motion?
so John, Kevin and I can meet down there for a beer and Kevin will bring the beer.
I'm not good with picnic tables, so I'm gonna bring my lunch. But I want shade. Well, if somebody needs to make a motion, I will make a motion that we give $5,000 towards this project.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I think we've talked it a lot. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
$5,000, Stonehorse Green.
All right. Joel and Abby, I'll follow up with a letter. You know the drill. I'll follow up with a letter. And you can decide whether or not this is an account transfer or that kind of thing. And if it's okay with you, even though this is going to be applied next year, I'm actually going to take it out of this year's grant dollars. Because we have more than enough this year, and then that way it saves us next year to put it toward maybe Stars Holidays or something, right? So
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the support. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
get
you
those
both.
programs in there and then come back again.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, I'll follow up later. Thank you guys.
All right, the next item is the WISTCA grant request, which I will also recuse myself from.
Okay, and I will share my screen.
It'd be a lonely meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this one's a no-brainer.
Yeah, they've been with us 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
So
this is
this
a
is the
no-brainer.
Wisconsin Track Coaches Association. I'll go through the very minimal part of this for record's sake. Requesting $5,000 destination partnership grant for their event February 5th through 7th at the Marriott. They've been with us 12 or 13 years now. They are really wonderful to work with. They make our job very easy. We always do an information table with them, and their organizers are just actually quite lovely people, to be completely honest. And we like the fact that the money goes toward the women's dinner or banquet. I don't remember what it's called, but to support women in sports. And they give us a lot of recognition. I mean, they're very good about letting people know that we support their event. And this is also during the shoulder season when everybody needs business in February. So definitely recommend supporting this event. And if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to ask them, or I can look through the grant request for you. I'm not kidding. It's pretty much identical to last year's request. Because I literally just pulled up last year's request and sent it to Mike and asked him like when he he asked me for it. Let's see here. I don't think that there was anything else attached to this either. Nope. So if you have no questions or comments, do we have someone who would make a motion to accept this grant?
I'll move to do the $5,000 for their event.
Second.
One second.
I said second.
7 seconds. Okay. Any further questions? Comments? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. All right, I'll let Mike know.
On to hotel updates. Honestly, I don't have a whole lot to update at this point. We are I'm going through some transition in my office with staffing along with end of year projects. But I will say that although we had a convention in last weekend over that football game, I noticed that the comp set didn't sell out on Friday night, and it looks like they didn't reach sellout on Saturday either. So that's interesting. Obviously, you know, the Badgers stink this year, so that doesn't help. But you know, even in years past when the Badgers maybe weren't so great, it wasn't a problem trying to sell out on a football weekend. So just something to keep on the radar as we go into next year. You know, I know that there's roughly 550 to 600 new hotel rooms that have opened up between east of the square and in downtown Madison. I know that's affecting things for sure. But it's just something to pay attention to, I guess.
And I've kind of seen the same thing. October is typically our strongest month, from beginning to end. And this year was no different. Actually, the Residence Inn occupancy was much better. We took a big hit in ADR to get that Athletes Unlimited group in. So I mean, I think October, generally speaking, we were pretty happy with. November is a struggle, and December doesn't look that great right now either. But you know, I would echo Jim's comments. Football season really hasn't done us many favors this year. But you know, that is what it is. We are wrapping up our budget season right now. We get the ownership call on Monday morning. So we'll see how that goes. But I know they're asking for more. We're going in very modest. And we'll see what happens with that. But it's you know, there's so much uncertainty out there. It's hard to know. You know, the government's reopened now, so I think that helps relieve some of us.
Yeah.
But you don't know about a lot of other things that are going on right now. It's hard to project.
Yeah.
So, but we had a good October. November, December. I don't think we're going to finish setting records finishing the year, but
How are bookings looking like with the ACD concert? I know.
Well, we picked up about 50 rooms once the tickets went on sale. It's nothing like what
Coldplay was a whole lot different. I mean, I was in my office. I heard it announced on the radio. Emailed the revenue management team immediately, and I think we had 8 rooms slip in before we were able to get things adjusted that morning. But otherwise, the demand hasn't been huge yet. So hopefully that changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will as we get closer. You know, it's just not, like you said, it's not Coldplay. So
Probably an age thing, but
yeah,
I'd rather go to AC/DC than Coldplay
I would
myself.
too. 1987 and AC/DC was announced, we'd be sold out already.
Like the booking window, this is a lot longer
Yeah.
than it was
Yeah.
like for these.
They announced the performers later last year.
Does count.
And also when you're talking about an age thing, the older you are, the less you think that there is going to be like a strain on hotel rooms.
Sure.
Because I deal with this all the time with my own family. My sisters drive me crazy. They'll wait until the week that they're leaving to book a hotel for like a graduation in some town. I'm like, you're never gonna find a room. But younger people know because like their friends are in the industry or something like that. I just feel like that plays a part too.
One other thing I just thought I'd add for hotel updates is, you know, it's just something to keep in mind looking forward into next year. But like you said, with all the uncertainty out there right now, we've seen it started really in September, but then October, and now it's gotten really bad in November. But our future year booking pace from a group perspective has dropped off a cliff. Right off a cliff. We, as a company, we have 74 hotels. Usually by this point within the month, we will be 60 to 70% toward achievement of our booking goal for that month. And right now we're sitting at 29%, which is pretty terrifying. You know, for us, we rely so much on group at the Marriott. Luckily, you know, our calendar is pretty well filled in for next year already. We got football teams that need to drop in yet once the schedule's released. You know, other things will invariably book, but the fear is then what, maybe if this carries on through halfway through 2026, what does 2027 look like then? Because we're generally booking a year and a half to maybe 3 years out for most of our programs. Some of them will go further out with them, but generally 2 to 3 years is as far as we book out. So, it brings me back to our renovation times in 18 and 19, where, we weren't told that we really need to be booking the crap out of 2021 at that time because, during the time the renovation is happening, we're not going to have a product to show. And then once we reopened after the renovation, we didn't have any good base business on the books for 2020. And if it weren't for COVID, my company was panicking. So anyways, I'm fearful that if this carries on for too much longer, 2027 could be an ugly year for my property specifically because, we rely so much on group business. But anyways, I just want to get that in the minutes.
On my company, we do a lot of bank workout deals. I mean, this portfolio we have here is a third-party management deal, but our development team right now is probably announcing on average 2 takeovers a week right now across the country. A lot of them are Texas and East Coast we're seeing, but and I think the Texas stuff is a lot of oil and gas driven, a very boom and bust type deal. But it's interesting to see the hotels that are popping up that we're going in as a receiver usually to manage them while they work through their bankruptcy or sale. So it's
2 per week more than what you normally would see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Texas seems to be the state though. It just kills me.
Yeah.
They think high and mighty of themselves, but they sure seem to struggle a lot with hotels.
Yeah.
We got a number of them in Houston and the airport area. DFW, Los Colinas. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you both.
Yep.
I'm going to go through my section as quickly as possible. Let's see here. There's that. Okay. So first of all, I'm just going to the STAR report. I actually did receive it this morning. So just to give a quick run through, occupancy for October was up 1.8% from last October, but down 2.1% year to date and down 1.1% the last running 12 months. ADR was up 2.1% from last October, up 3.8% year to date, and up 2.9% running the last 12 months. Revenue up 3.9% from October compared to October 2024. It's up 1.5% year to date and up 1.7% the last 12 months. So since last October. The occupancy is the thing that, 2 years ago, we were running into the same problem. The occupancy is the thing that we need to focus on, trying to get more people here. ADR, that's a pretty nominal percentage up, but I'm still pretty happy with it, that we're at least higher. We're not going down, especially with revenue not going down, even though occupancy. But it means that we're fighting for the rooms that we have. And I know that with the new hotels that went online last year in Madison, and there's another one going online in Fitchburg, not far from the Alliance Center. We're going to have to come up with more tactics. This year, one of the things that we discussed during budget season was we did allocate an additional $10,000 just toward meeting planning, conventions, that kind of advertising. We did expand this year already into Illinois, and we'll probably continue that and use some of that money to, I think, third page and half page ads, and I think we're going to keep going to half page to full page. I actually really like how Illinois Meetings does their magazine. They only print twice a year, but it's a good looking magazine. And I like how they allow you to purchase advertorials. I think that makes a big difference. But this will probably be a portion of our strategic plan. that will be picking up after the organizational assessment. So going forward on that, please read the organizational assessment, get back to me with your questions, your comments, your, if we're missing something. Let me know if you want to talk to me or if you want to talk to Bill. And if more than one person wants to talk to Bill, we can get that organized so that he only has to come down here once, or we can Zoom. But that organizational assessment will affect the strategic plan. But as I need to find out where the city stands on it. Could we hire another person? Is this something the commission wants? Is this something the city will allow? He also has a section in there about compensation, and the city did do a comp study. I still don't know exactly how that's working out. But he recognized that there was some lacking there too, which just supports what the city found out. And then talking about, we are in a 3-year contract with Destination Madison. So we need to sit down and talk about really what do we want to see and get from them, and go into it as a unified commission when we negotiate for renewal. And then what was the other one that he had on there? There were 4. As far as the communication goes, I am going to start a new partner e-newsletter. Hopefully I don't think we'll do a town hall 4 times a year, but I'm going to try to do something more. Maggie goes to DMBA meetings, though I will say DMBA doesn't always let us know when their meetings are. So we got to figure that out. But trying to get into opportunities to share more about what we do. And if we did hire another person, what would that job description look like? I've already been thinking about that as well. And then the big question is, do we have the money for all of this? Yeah, we do. We have more than $3 million sitting in our general fund, because we come in under budget every year and over revenue budget. And we're not spending the money that we're making, and we absolutely can. And we can spend that on bringing the staff up to compensation levels and hiring a 4th person. Opening during a Saturday, I have tried, guys, people don't really come in. Yeah. I don't think it's worth paying a person an hourly wage to sit in here and clean. Because that's what you'd be doing, yeah. Going unless you have like Maggie could work on marketing stuff, but there isn't a lot you'd be able to do on a weekend, because you wouldn't be able to go back and forth to the hotels. You would just be sitting here. Yeah, I mean, you could work on permitting. Yeah. But it wouldn't be the same, because I don't think people realize how much Laura's in and out. Like she's everywhere. So I don't think that we'd go that far. But more signage, we were talking about like putting a feather out there during the summer. And we do have our sidewalk sign. And when Kevin suggested that neon sign, that was a huge game changer. More and more people started coming in when they saw the neon open sign, because you can actually see it from the road. Yeah, that's smart. So we're here for suggestions. And I do think that's commission orientation is an awesome idea. And so when we're going into our strategic plan, it may be what we do is we all go somewhere and like a retreat, and it starts with commission orientation, and then we slip into strategic planning. But we need to find out what our parameters are. Like we could build a strategic plan around a 4th person and all these other things, and then nothing happens. So Brian Gatto has received this, but I haven't spoken to him yet, because again, all of you only got this on Saturday. And then just for anybody watching, we didn't have the organizational assessment ready to attach to the agenda. Came too late, so it'll be attached to the minutes, because it is a public document, but please know it is still in draft form. So this version is, the public can look at it, but it's still a draft. It's not the final form. So just wanted to catch everybody up on that. Also, a couple other notices. Clothing drive finished October 15th through the November 5th. This is Laura's baby. She coordinates it. She gets everything. She takes everything to Way Forward. She does all of that. And Maggie helps a lot with marketing. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Laura gets all the credit on that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. She's hauling stuff like 2 times a week. It came in at 939 items, which is more than we have ever had in the 10 years we've been doing this.
Nice.
And then also right around the time that wrapped up, I got on an email with Jim, and as the chair, he can approve donations, and decided as a commission to donate $1,000 to Way Forward's food pantry for the month of November, and just kind of see where things are in December. Now, again, is that tourism, right? But how we're looking at it as the hospitality industry is being hit really hard by the SNAP benefits being shut off. And even though they've been turned back on, it could be 5 weeks or more till some of these people see their money. And so we're trying to support our community and the people who work in our industry as well. And then Bachfest submitted a grant request. Now, since this is $2,000 or less, I have the ability to approve it. So I'm just letting you all know I approved it. Same sponsorship grant that we do every year. Can't wait for Bachfest. I think I've only missed 1 year because I was sick. And then I have your Q3 revenue report. It's exciting when I can actually give these on time. So our revenue right now, we are $1,259,057. We're 80% of the way there, and that is pretty much on track with previous years. In fact, we're about 45 grand ahead now than where we normally are at this time. And this just gives you a rundown of where, and this was attached to the agenda. This just tells you where we are. So year to date actual, what we've actually spent, what we still have to spend. Now in advertising last year, we came in way under budget. We always allocate, the last 2 years, we've allocated $60,000 to a special project, which we didn't do. So no matter what, there'll be $60,000 left in that because that was earmarked for a Discover Wisconsin campaign that we didn't do. We rolled that over into next year. Hopefully we can get something started with that. And that is also one of those things where we wouldn't even have to put it in the budget. Normally a DMO could just say, we're going to do this campaign and take it out of our fund balance. But then I have to go before finance and common council to get it approved. So it's easier to just include it in our budget.
Sure.
Promotions, this is really low because this is the time of year when everything gets ordered. So it looks like, oh my gosh, but no, like right around now is when everything gets ordered because Laura's doing inventory. What are we low on? What are we out of? What special events are happening next year that we might need something special for? For instance, we did order more beanies. So now we have beanies in 3 colors because we want to give them away when the CXC Lodge has their grand opening. This year, Maggie did something really adorable with Laura, and they made custom bookmarks for the Wisconsin Library Association. It was cheap. I think they spent $50.
Yeah, they're really cheap.
They were so inexpensive, but that little kind of touch is the kind of thing that we're looking out for. So if we know that a piece of business is coming that, especially if they aren't even asking for a grant, but maybe we can do something special for them on the merch table. We've been like looking at that as well. Destination Madison. Now this is pretty darn close. I had to give an estimate because I hadn't received the report yet from finance, but it's pretty darn close. Right now for the 3 quarters, we've given them $214,000. Vehicle expenses. This is things like oil change. Salaries. We should be at the point where we've spent it all because this was one of the first years in like 3 years that we've had a full staff for a full 12 months. Sometimes benefits may move if something happened after budget, but salary stays the same. Now on meals and a couple of other things, there's no way that we're going to spend that much money, which is why next year's budget, we brought some of those accounts down. Legal fees, this to me is low, and I've contacted the city administrator twice now. I think the city accidentally paid a couple of our legal fees, but at this point, I don't even know how to track that. So we might just end up only spending that because anytime I have to have a contract looked at, it costs a minimum of $300. So I don't know. This could go up a little bit or it could stay, but obviously we're fine budget wise. Public relations, this is also not updated yet with the bills from this month, which is when the foodie sweepstakes came through and that kind of thing. So those bills have been paid, but they haven't been processed yet. They'll probably get processed after tonight's finance meeting. Contingency, we haven't had a tree fall. or anything crazy or a truck back into us yet, knock on wood. So we haven't had to touch our contingency money yet. And so in right now, if you look at our revenue over what our budget is, we still have $297,000 to make up for, but we are probably going to come in under budget. And then our net revenue over expenses, we are over near 358,000. So we are doing fine. And a lot of this is because we haven't had many grants requested this year. And that's something to think about too. Because I feel like our budget is always going to skew because we aren't spending the grant dollars. So that's something to think about next year too when we're talking about our strategic plan. Do we just automatically put those dollars somewhere else? And then if we get a piece of business and we're out of grant money, we can just go into our grant fund, our tourism fund to pull it out? Or do we keep our grant funding at such a high level and knowing every single year we're going to be under budget? And so it all depends on how we want to look at our budgeting. In a way, you could say this makes us look good, but at the same time, it's not as easily tracked on what it really costs to run the business when we are consistently so, down in what we're spending on grants. The hope is there. And then also in 2026, that's the last year we are paying for CXC. And so in 2027, instead of $125,000 for destination partnership, it'll go back to 75. And that is the one account that we do come close to actually spending the 75. We just need to do better in sports specifically. And the tourism grant, which is specifically for hotels, we just haven't had the new business. I think the Acres one still qualifies as that because it's only their second year.
They won't be back.
Okay.
So we did it last year.
Last year, okay.
Mhm.
So that's all I have for you guys for the revenue report.
Awesome.
And that's all I have, unless anybody has any comments, you can.
Anybody like to make any comments, make a motion to adjourn?
Just a reminder, we do not have a December meeting, but we will have our holiday party and we'll be in contact with everybody with a doodle poll and we need to follow up about location and then figure out dates, and then we'll send out a doodle poll to make sure that that works with everybody.
You're muted,
Oh,
John.
you're muted, John.
Oh, sorry.
I move we adjourn.
All right. There's a
Second.
second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank
Yeah,
you all so much. All right.
Now
Look at that.
Looking
Look
forward
at
to it.
that.
Absolutely.